Brothers and sisters, listen to this call echoing like a bell in a storm. Imagine for a moment the night stretching over fields devastated by conflict, where the light of hope hides behind heavy clouds of violence. Feel the weight of this silence broken only by the roar of bombs, the cries of children, the desperation of mothers. Here we are, facing the abyss opened by war, where each new day seems to promise only more pain and separation. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to get access to more stories like this. I invite you, watching me now, not to look away. Don't let routine make you numb. This isn't some distant story, relegated to news reports or history books. It's a reality that screams, demands a response, knocks on the door of our conscience. If this content touches your heart, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment about how you feel witnessing the scars of war, like this video so the message spreads, and together, let's be seeds of transformation in a world thirsty for peace. Looking around, we see a landscape scarred by ruins that were once schools, homes, churches, markets. The foundations of daily life crumble, and dust insists on settling over the violated dignity of innocence. How can we not be moved by these images? How can we close our eyes to the tragedy affecting so many brothers and sisters, regardless of color, race, creed, or nationality? I ask you, what do you feel imagining your home, the place of your affection, your dreams, destroyed by the fire of hatred and intolerance? War, dear sons and daughters, isn't a natural accident. It's the tragic work of human choices, fueled by pride, the desire for power, and the refusal of dialogue. And that's why we're here. Not to be accomplices to silence, to break down the barriers of indifference, to cry out in unison for peace where only the lament of anguish is heard. Let's contemplate cities reduced to rubble, empty squares, eyes that have lost the sparkle of hope. Amidst it all, a single question lingers, as old as humanity. How long will we allow the suffering of innocence to be the price paid for the decisions of a few? Every afflicted face, every child deprived of their parents' embrace, every elderly person alone among the ruins is a call to our conscience. Don't ignore this call. Often we're tempted to think, this doesn't concern me, it's too far away. But no distance can isolate human suffering from the compassionate gaze of God and those who allow themselves to be touched by true compassion. May this introduction be a clarion call to awaken our soul, to move us to action, to make us feel the urgency of this time. We're living a decisive moment, where every gesture, every word, every prayer becomes a precious seed. Prepare your heart for a journey of reflection, compassion, and commitment, because, together, we'll be voices rising against the night of war. Let's talk now about the true protagonists hidden in the shadows of war, the innocent victims. What can be said about families torn apart by sudden loss, about parents desperately searching for their children in the rubble, about children who no longer know the meaning of the word shelter, as fear has become the roof under which they sleep? How many nameless faces, how many interrupted destinies? They're not statistics, they're unique, sacred lives, loved by God. Think honestly, how many of these faces have you seen? How many times have the eyes of these victims crossed your phone screen, your computer, and asked for help without saying a word? The suffering of war is a silent scream, stifled by the world's indifference. But for those who truly listen, it echoes like thunder in the soul. There are children who will never know the lightness of a protected childhood. They grow up knowing fear, grief, hunger. They learn, the hard way, that a mother's smile can be silenced by shrapnel, that the security of a father's embrace can be torn away by a stray bullet. Let's think of the elderly, whose memories merge with recollections of peaceful times, now destroyed by horror repeating generation after generation. Men and women who only wanted to live in peace, to work, pray, love, see their stories reduced to laments and goodbyes. We cannot ignore the cry of those who suffer. They cry out for us, they cry out for justice, they cry out for mercy. Will we be their answer? Or will we let the dust of indifference cover their voices? Pope Francis, a prophet of our time, has already stated, every war leaves the world worse than it found it, always. With every new bomb dropped, every shot fired, visible and invisible wounds multiply. Fear, trauma, disbelief multiply. It's in this context that the true Christian, but also every man and woman of goodwill, is called to an examination of conscience. What value do we place on human life? What place does compassion occupy in our daily lives? There are no borders for pain, just as there are none for the love God asks us to cultivate. When we see mothers running with their children in their arms, seeking shelter where there's no refuge, we cannot remain passive. When we hear the prayer of those who no longer have tears to cry, it's our responsibility to unite our cry with theirs. For in every prayer, in every gesture of solidarity, a small flame is lit that challenges the darkness. Peace, brothers, is born from the courageous recognition of this suffering. We need to name it, narrate it, sustain it in prayer. We need to transform the pain of others into personal commitment. The suffering of innocence is a call to love more, to act more, to not rest as long as there is war. This is the challenge. This is our Christian and human mission. War, beloved sons and daughters, is much more than a political mistake or a social failure. It is, above all, an open wound in humanity's spiritual body, a wound that bleeds daily, fed by neglect, selfishness, the absence of compassion. Every life taken, every family destroyed, every hope frustrated is a painful testament that we have forgotten the sacred dignity of every human being. The impact of war isn't measured only by the number of corpses or the size of craters in cities. It manifests even more deeply and permanently, in the souls of peoples, in hearts marked by grief, in the eyes of children who have learned to distrust tomorrow. War creates a spiritual void, a silence laden with unanswered questions. What answer will we give as a community of faith and love in the face of such devastation? Let's remember the Master's words, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Matthew 5:9. War is precisely the opposite of the gospel. It annihilates peace, distorts truth, obscures the divine light in every person. And yet, it seems so easy to forget that the one who suffers on the other side of the world is our brother, made in the image and likeness of God. Great political decisions can be made in luxurious offices, far from the smell of gunpowder and blood, but it's in the human heart that the true tragedy takes root. The hatred fueled by violent speeches transforms into destructive action. Our mission is to relentlessly denounce this cycle of pain. War, any war, affects everyone. There are no winners, only victims. The Church throughout history has never been silent in the face of the horrors of war. Popes, bishops, priests, men and women of faith, all in unison have reminded humanity, dignity is non-negotiable, life is not a bargain. Every bullet fired is an insult to the commandment of love. Every bomb dropped, a blasphemy against the God of peace. It's therefore necessary to recognize, war poisons everything it touches. It reduces hope, vulgarizes the sacred, brutalizes the ordinary. Alongside physical ruins, spiritual rubble accumulates. Parishes fall silent. Prayers seem to get lost in the wind. The altar of the heart is invaded by fear. And the greatest tragedy isn't losing homes, but losing faith in others, losing the sense of mercy. Sons and daughters, let's not close our eyes to the spiritual dimension of pain. Let's pray that our hearts don't become insensitive. If war annihilates, it's our task to sow contrary signs, of hope, of reconciliation, of irresistible love. We cannot accept as normal what is, in truth, a scandal before God. We will not be accomplices to forgetting neither God nor the victims. In this scenario of desolation, my voice cries out as a pastor to all corners of the earth. Unite, brothers and sisters. No matter what language you speak, the color of your skin, or your belief, we are all, without exception, inhabited by the same thirst for peace, guided by the same desire for justice. Now more than ever, we need to intertwine our hands through the invisible thread of prayer and solidarity. What can we do when it seems like nothing is within our reach? What can a lonely heart do in the face of the powerful mechanisms of conflict? Yes, it can do a lot. It can resist hatred by cultivating compassion. It can rise in supplication, building bridges of reconciliation where there were only walls before. It can transform a simple prayer into a weapon stronger than any army. I invite each of you, then, to an uninterrupted, universal chain of prayer, wherever you are. Pray with us. Pray for peace in wounded families, for light in the eyes of children, for the conversion of hearts hardened by the desire for revenge. Pray not only with words, but with concrete acts of charity, with smiles, with silent forgiveness, with attentive listening to the pain of others. The unity of peoples is born from this inner decision, not to hate, not to judge, not to omit. The whole world today needs outstretched hands, embraces that cross borders, voices that do not repeat speeches of hatred, but bravely proclaim that fraternity is possible. We are one human family. By hurting one, we are all hurt. By saving one, we are all saved. Remember that Jesus taught us, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I among them." Matthew 18:20. God is present in the communion of those who pray, those who fight for peace, those who do not remain silent in the face of injustice. The Holy Spirit blows where it finds open, humble hearts, willing to love even when everything invites to despair. Therefore, let's go together, Catholics, Christians of various denominations, men and women of all faiths, and even those who simply wish well. Let's not give up praying. Let's not give up joining forces, because peace is not a conquest of one, but a gift for all. And every prayer is a brick in the construction of this new world. If this message resonates in your heart, share this video, tag your friends, invite them to join this chain of prayer and solidarity. Only together can we light up the night of war with the light of hope. My beloved sons and daughters, the time has come for us to look firmly into the heart of the storm, the mechanisms that make war turn. How many times, throughout the centuries, has humanity blindly surrendered to the logic of vengeance, to the endless cycle of an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? How many times have we allowed resentment and the desire for retaliation to disguise themselves as justice? Isn't it true, brothers, that many conflicts persist simply because someone refuses to take the first step toward forgiveness? I ask, how long will we let revenge dictate the fate of nations? How long will we allow the pride of the powerful to be more important than the suffering of the innocent? War is the beloved child of pride and self-sufficiency. It almost always begins when someone prefers force to dialogue, imposition to understanding, a shout to an embrace. Let's remember the words of the gospel. To him who strikes you on one cheek, offer the other also. Luke 6:29. Jesus is not proposing weakness, but courage. Courage to break the chain of hatred. Courage to be the first to extend a hand. Courage to love when everything invites retaliation. True power, my brothers, is not in the force of weapons, but in the firmness of a heart that refuses to hate. As a priest, as a pastor, I am called to denounce the subtle poison that contaminates the collective soul whenever we choose revenge as a path. No war is born of love. Every war is born of the refusal to forgive, the refusal to understand, the refusal to see another as an equal. The pride that inflames leaders, governments, ideologies quickly spreads like wildfire. It takes over streets, houses, homes. The language of violence contaminates the most fragile hearts, turns children into soldiers, young people into martyrs of empty causes. But I repeat the question, is this really humanity's destiny? Are we truly condemned to the eternal repetition of tragedies? Or can we, together, inaugurate a new logic, a new ethic, where forgiveness is stronger than resentment, where dialogue is stronger than the sound of explosions? I recall here the figure of St. Francis of Assisi, a messenger of peace, who dared to cross borders and dialogue with those who thought differently. He carried no sword, but the strength of meekness. He did not impose himself through fear, but through example. We are invited today to follow in his footsteps, to choose reconciliation where everyone proposes conflict, to seek humility where the world worships power. My brothers and sisters, no flag, no territory, no interest can justify the price of human pain. No thirst for power can be greater than the commandment of love. History will judge each generation by its choices. May we be remembered as those who, in the face of the storm, resisted the seductive song of revenge and dared to plant the seeds of forgiveness. Let's look within ourselves. How many times do we feed small, invisible wars in our family, our work, our community? How many times do we choose pride instead of understanding? World peace begins with peace in our own hearts. Don't be seduced by the false power of revenge. The only true power is that which builds, not that which destroys. At this moment, I ask that you quiet your hearts. Close your eyes and try to feel deeply the weight that war imposes on lives, dreams, souls. Have you ever thought that war doesn't just destroy bodies and buildings? It silences lullabies, buries promises of the future, casts deep shadows over hope. The evil of war is like poison that slowly infiltrates the deepest roots of human existence. How many people in the face of disaster ask themselves, has God forgotten us? How many faiths are shaken? How many hearts lose the gift of trusting, of hoping, of believing in love? War not only steals bread, but also steals meaning. It whispers in the ear of the vulnerable, "It's not worth it. There's no point in fighting." It is a master of hopelessness. However, brothers and sisters, if war can destroy dreams, we must be sowers of hope. I make a special appeal to you. Don't let despair paralyze you. An authentic faith is not limited to temples or liturgies. It flourishes more vigorously in devastated fields, on moonless nights, in the deserts of pain. Christ himself, at the moment of his agony, did not flee from suffering, but made his cross an altar of redemption. War challenges us, through pain, to see the face of God even in tears. It tries to persuade us that evil is absolute, that the future is closed. But as St. Paul teaches us, where sin abounded, grace abounded much more. Romans 5:20. It's not easy to maintain faith when everything falls apart, but it is possible, and more than possible, it is necessary. Let's think of the Christian martyrs, the anonymous saints who never denied their hope, even consumed by the flames of hatred. They are luminaries for our time. They did not succumb to despair. They continued to love, even when everything invited to revenge. They kept the faith when all seemed lost. War also poisons fraternal love. It instigates distrust, fosters division, even among neighbors, colleagues, relatives. It leaves invisible marks, scars on the memory of children, in family ties, in the purest hearts. We cannot allow this to continue. If we remain silent, we are accomplices to the cycle of destruction. Our mission is to say no to hatred, yes to reconciliation. And you listening to me now, have you ever felt like you've lost hope? Have you ever wondered if it's worth insisting on good? Know this: every small gesture of courage, every act of faith, every word of comfort are seeds sown in fertile ground. Don't be discouraged. The world needs your testimony. Faith is light, even in the darkest shadows. Therefore, my sons and daughters, cultivate hope. Don't let war steal what is most precious, the certainty that God is present, that peace is still possible, that love will have the last word. Together, we are guardians of this flame. In the face of so much suffering, I now address a direct, clear, straightforward word. It's time for conversion. Not just for those who wage open wars, but for all of us who at some point have closed our hearts to others. The conversion the gospel asks for is radical, to change the way we see, feel, and act. It means letting go of pride, abandoning the logic of violence, embracing forgiveness as a gift and a task. I ask you, who are watching me, is there someone you need to forgive? Is there some deeply rooted hurt, some resentment preventing you from experiencing true peace? Don't underestimate the power of forgiveness. A forgiven heart can transform entire families, communities, whole peoples. Don't wait until tomorrow to take the first step. The time is now. Jesus, before those who crucified him, raised an unheard of prayer to heaven. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Luke 23:34. If he, innocent, forgave his executioners, who are we to refuse forgiveness? The invitation to conversion isn't just an invitation to change your mind, but to change your life. It's an invitation to the courage to love where everyone hates, to rise when all seems lost, to persist in goodness when evil insists on prevailing. I address a special word to all who, in some way, perpetuate war, whether with weapons, hateful speeches, omission, silence, indifference. My appeal is this: allow yourselves to be touched by grace. No one is condemned to the prison of their own sin. God never gives up on any of his children. There is always time to start over, to rebuild bridges, to restore broken bonds. And if you think, but it's impossible to forgive, impossible to love someone who hurt me, remember that we are not alone. The Holy Spirit, guest of the heart, is the one who enables us to go beyond our strength. Peace comes from above, but it germinates in the soil of our daily effort. It is both grace and a task. The world urgently needs messengers of forgiveness, people willing to dialogue even when hurt, parents who teach their children to reconcile, not to seek revenge, young people who testify at school, at work, that it's always possible to start over even when all seems lost. How many wars would be avoided if forgiveness were the rule, not the exception? If conversion were the goal, not a utopia? Therefore, brothers and sisters, embrace this invitation today. Convert to peace, to dialogue, to forgiveness. Be a protagonist of this new story too. Don't wait for others. Start today. Start now. If this message touched your heart, leave your testimony here. Write in the comments something you wish to forgive, someone you wish to reconcile with. Perhaps your experience will inspire others to do the same. Like this video, share it, and let's spread the culture of forgiveness together. Because it's never too late to start over, and the world urgently needs this new beginning. My beloved brothers and sisters, having journeyed together through the pain of war, the demand for conversion, and the invitation to forgiveness, the time has come to turn our gaze inward, to that sacred territory where all great changes begin, the human heart. You've heard countless times that peace should be proclaimed in the palaces and garments of the powerful, in summits and international agreements. But as a pastor and servant, I tell you, true peace doesn't first sprout from signed treaties, but from the fertile silence within each person. In the secrecy of conscience, where only God penetrates, the course of all history is decided. Allow me to ask you a direct question. How is your heart? Is it open or hardened? Is it restless, agitated by fear, pride, or resentment? Or are you already, perhaps without realizing it, a bearer of a serene, discreet peace, capable of disarming even the oldest hatred? The world is full of people experiencing internal wars. Many battles begin with small grudges, unresolved hurts, anxiety about what hasn't happened. How many times, out of pride, do we fail to extend a hand? How many times, out of fear, do we prefer silence to reconciliation? How many times, out of resentment, do we prefer isolation to communion? Christ taught us by his example that peace is the fruit of self-control, humility, and radical trust in God. In Gethsemane, faced with betrayal and imminent violence, he prayed and surrendered to the Father's will. He didn't return aggression for aggression, didn't react with bitterness, but with a love that embraces even enemies. This is the secret of true peace. It is born from within, grows in prayer, and translates into concrete gestures. I invite you to examine your conscience, to look inward with sincerity. Is there still pride in your words? Is there fear paralyzing your generosity? Is there hidden resentment, ready to turn into poison? Know this, it's possible to overcome all of it. God wants to free you from every obstacle, every internal prison. The transformation of the world begins with your transformation. This is the great promise of the gospel. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. John 14:27. It's not the fleeting peace of human conquests, but a peace that withstands the storm, a peace that comes from the Spirit. Allow this gift to invade your life. Don't wait for others to change or for the world scenario to alter. Be the beginning of the peace you wish to see. And here I ask you, share in the comments your experience of seeking inner peace. What are your challenges? What attitudes have you already taken to overcome pride, fear, resentment? Your testimony can inspire others fighting the same silent battle. On this path towards peace, we must recognize the power of humble acts, small gestures, anonymous people who, in silence, sustain the world. Yes, brothers and sisters, human history is shaped far less by grand headlines than by the discreet actions of those who love without expecting recognition. Have you ever reflected on the impact of a smile on someone's suffering day? Have you noticed how a kind gesture can change the atmosphere of a tense environment? True revolutions begin in small things: a shared plate of food, a word of encouragement, a sincere apology, attentive listening. The saints of God, before being known, were humble servants. How many anonymous mothers selflessly protect their children amidst bombings? How many volunteers and missionaries are right now bringing hope, bread, and care where there's only despair? How many young people give up comfort, teach refugee children? How many elderly people pray alone in the silence of their homes for world peace? God sees. God collects every gesture, every sacrifice, and in His time makes abundant fruits grow. The logic of the kingdom is inverse to that of the world. The least among you, that person is the greatest. Luke 9:48. Whoever is faithful in a little will be put in charge of much. Don't underestimate the power of a simple act motivated by love. I remember the story of an elderly woman who every day prepared soup for the children in her community, even during the most difficult times of a war. She didn't have many resources, but she had a tireless heart. For many years, no one knew her name until at the end of the conflict, she was recognized as the mother of an entire generation, saving lives from the abyss of despair. Aren't these the true heroes of humanity? My beloved ones, never doubt, small acts of mercy defy the logic of hatred. A glass of water, a word, an embrace can be more powerful than armies. Heaven rejoices with every seed of peace sown, even if no one applauds. Therefore, be the author of these gestures. Do good without expecting applause. Be an angel in disguise in the lives of those going through storms. Comment here, what small gestures of peace have you made or witnessed? Share your story. Inspire others to be agents of silent goodness. Beloved sons and daughters of the whole world, at this point in our manifesto, we need to definitively break with all neutrality and indifference. The temptation to remain on the sidelines, to sit idly by, is enormous. But as a disciple of Christ and servant of the people, I insist. Peace is not just a task for governments, nor for saints on altars. It is the mission of every person, here and now. The silence of the good perpetuates evil. Indifference is fertile ground for the growth of injustice. To be neutral in the face of suffering is fundamentally to condone it. You might think, but I'm just one person. What can I do in the face of so much horror? And I tell you, with authority and affection, you can do a lot. You can be a voice for the voiceless. You can be a bridge where there are chasms. You can be hope where there is only despair. Don't be absent. The responsibility for peace is collective and personal, starting today with small choices. Parents, educate your children for respect and dialogue. Young people, be examples of reconciliation in your schools and on social media. Workers, promote fair, healthy, and welcoming environments. Leaders, use power to serve, never to humiliate. There's no such thing as nothing to do. There's always a letter, a prayer, a donation, a denouncement, a gesture of solidarity. If you feel indignation in the face of another's pain, transform that feeling into action. Seek out peace support groups, participate in movements, get involved in local and global solidarity campaigns. Reflect. No matter where you live, whether in a metropolis, a village, or even physically isolated, it's always possible to make a difference. Peace needs witnesses, not spectators. Be a protagonist. Take the first step. Encourage others to follow. Goodness is contagious. It multiplies, it spreads silently, and little by little, the dark night of war is overcome by the dawn of hope. If this call spoke to your heart, I ask you to engage right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends and family. Write in the comments what concrete action you intend to take from today for the end of wars and the promotion of peace. Your attitude can be the beginning of a chain of transformation that the world so desperately needs. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to get access to more stories like this. And remember, I conclude this section with the eternal words of Pope Francis. Indifference is a dangerous virus, more deadly than war itself. Let us fight together, actively, for a world of peace. Be a soldier of tenderness, charity, and truth. Join us on this journey, for together, as God's people, we build the peace the world needs.